And we are back. Mike Deem, Joe Bell. I did say Deem, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said Deem, didn't I? Mike Deem, Joe Bell, and we are Pewter Power. We're ready to go here. 16-10 win. We're going to talk about the win of the Carolina Panthers and how the defense played extremely well, and we're going to get into that because we have some stats right now.
Yeah, let's throw the stats up first. For the stats for this game, it's great. First downs, Tampa Bay had 18 to Carolina's 16. Carolina moved the ball very well in the air. They had 291 yards passing to our 128, but we did have 130 yards rushing to, did you see that right?
Yes.
That's not a typo.
Exactly.
10 yards rushing for the Carolina Panthers. We had less turnovers, none. They had 2. We had less penalties, and we held the ball for 7 minutes more than the Carolina Panthers.
The key stat right there.
Key stat. They held the ball. Of course, when you only allow 10 yards rushing and you rush for over 100 yards, you hold on to the ball. Tampa did exactly what they expected to do and what Schiano was looking for them to do.
Right.
So I think they're moving in the right direction. Now, in the second half, I don't think they looked that great to me. They started to kind of fall apart a little bit, but they held it together just enough to win the game.
I thought the defense played really well in the second half more than the offense did.
Seemed like the old bend, don't break.
Exactly.
They got him down there and just didn't let him score too much.
What I like about it is that the 0 turnovers, which is the key to the game. Last year we had a lot of turnovers, fumbles, like Garrett Blunt, turnovers from Josh being pressured, but they got a lead. Okay, and they kept it. One of the other things that you want to look at is passing yards, 291, 128. Now, Carolina still passed it, but the 10 yards rushing, okay, ties a record for the lowest amount of yards ever held by a Buccaneers defense.
Absolutely.
Who was it against by? You know what it is against by?
No.
They tied it against Carolina.
Wow.
There you
Amazing.
go.
Well, you know, and last year they were averaging, the opponents of Tampa were averaging over 200 yards a game.
Yes.
So that was the key thing they were trying to do. Defensive line played much better, much more pressure. It was good to see they forced Cam Newton to move around a little bit, get out of the pocket, make some bad throws. Of course, 2 interceptions, which were off those bad throws.
Right. I think one of the things I saw really early was what Schiano did with the defense, and we talked about it last week, is that containing him inside the pocket versus letting him get outside. He got a couple outside of there, but
I wanted him to get outside the pocket.
I know you do, but I didn't.
When he was outside the pocket, he made some great plays, but he also threw both interceptions from outside the pocket.
He got pressured.
Just saying. For those of you that didn't agree with me last week.
The point I was getting at was that
getting emails. They disagreed with me.
I know, and that's why I said
Keith was one of them, and I was correct.
They agree with me.
I know.
You keep them contained, and that's what they did. I think they didn't get they got pressure on him. They didn't get him sacked as much, but they did get it in the second half, started doing a little bit more. So I thought the defense played really, really well. I thought the game plan was really done well. And Sheridan had a great, great game plan, too, on offense. I wanted to go back to that, too, because his play calling, we saw plays, and we mentioned that right in the press box. We saw plays we have never seen before.
Yeah, everybody in the press box was like, what team is this?
Exactly.
In the first quarter, in that first drive, total. And that was kind of hard for Carolina, and I think they'll learn how to play against Tampa later. So now was the time to get those plays out. But very different team, you know, and we'll get into the good and bad players, but Vincent Jackson made a couple key drops. He made a couple key plays, but a couple key drops for first downs that they could have played even better. Let's bring a couple of them up. We have a slide on the most impressive players from what I saw.
Right.
Mark Barron, he absolutely slobber knockered Steve Smith on the sideline. And he's a big hitter, young, rookie, going to be a great player. Rondé Barber, he wins NFC Defensive Player of the Week with 5 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 2 passes defended. Levante David, we'll get into him after we drink the slide down. He actually called the plays for the defense. Gerald McCoy, great game, great pressure. And Doug Martin, almost 100 yards. He had 95 yards rushing, and he had 3 or 4 key catches for first downs. Great game for him.
What I like about it, and we'll go through it real quick, is Mark Barron, of course, he brings that John Lynch mentality coming back, the hitness, the toughness in the defensive backfield that we didn't have before.
Yeah, that was not there.
Rondé Barber, smart player out there.
Again, he holds the record for most sacks and interceptions for a defensive back together.
Right.
And now he got 1 of each again.
in his 200th game, consecutive game played.
back.
And I thought that was a great call by Shiano, letting him play cornerback
to start the game, and then pulled him back to safety where he did extremely well.
But here's the man that you said, and I said, and you said more than that yesterday, and you said, and I said it too, and then you said it again, was then I said it, they said that Levante David would be the guy.
I told you when we started this season, in the preseason, that Levante David would be the steal of the draft.
Yes.
And he has already proven that he is. He is calling the plays on defense. He held his position, got that look of a Derrick Brooks. You can't call him a Derrick Brooks because Derrick Brooks is what he is. But the kind of speed and intelligence in a player that Tampa hasn't had in that position in a long time.
Well, just remember, Mason Foster called the signals last year. He was a rookie. Levante David is a rookie this year. Levante David did not come off that field on defense. Mason Foster was inserted in different ways on nickel-dime situations. He came off. So Levante David got the play-calling situation.
Yep, and of course we know Gerald McCoy had a great game. Doug Martin, of course, as well, had a very, very good game and looked really well. Put our most disappointing up, if you would. We had a couple we didn't really think did all that well. LeGarrette Blount, and we'll talk about him in a second because of Doug Martin. Vincent Jackson, couple bad plays where he dropped some balls. He had some good plays too. One huge 40-yard pass is called back from the next person on the list, Ted Larson, from a holding call.
Yep.
And the second half offensive line I'm going to throw in there too. So let's talk about those a little bit. LeGarrette Blount has the mystery injury, and you said it, your son has them too, and my children have had him in a game where you're playing bad.
Are we saying kids? We're saying kids.
Do that.
Immaturity
do that.
there, again.
I mean, he had 3 runs in a row where he ran into the back of an offensive lineman and he got nothing, and then all of a sudden he starts shaking and falls on the ground. So there's nothing wrong with him. They've sent him off for MRIs. They say he's okay, but he will play this week.
I know what the illness is. The illness is jealousy, okay? The illness is he's not starting. Doug Martin had a really good game and showed him up.
And the people in the press box were all like, what are you doing? When they put him in the second quarter. I mean, Doug Martin was having a great game. He easily could have got 100 yards rushing, and I think this week he will. Get either 100 yards rushing or 100 yards receiving against the Giants, because they're going to pressure heavy, and he's going to have to do some screen passes to make that win, and we'll talk about that in the next segment.
Right.
But and Ted Larson's horrible, just plain horrible. But of course he's replacing Davin Joseph, who is a Pro Bowler, so it is.
You can't ask for too much, okay? But the defensive line in the second half was a little tired, I think, was it there? Okay.
And the offensive line, they were allowing too much pressure in the second half, so we couldn't score many points. But we'll come back. We're going to get into the New York Football Giants. Next segment, 1 o'clock Sunday. Big game, Tampa Bay 1-0. Don't go away. Come right back.
We're going back to see Eli Manning.